for tuning in to the 65th USHA Four-Walled National Handball Championships. With the WPH, my name is Dave Vincent. It's time now for the Men's Open Finals. Let's go back down to the show court to capture more action.
Where it will be Paul Brady up against Emmett Peixoto here 2 years in a row as Paul Brady seeks his 10th national title in 10 tries. That's 10 out of 11 years. My name is Dave Vincent, and I'm alongside Dave Fink at Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California. Dave, Paul Brady going for number 10, trying to vacate that spot that he's currently with in the record books alongside Dave Chapman. Meanwhile, Emmett Peixoto, who is just doing what he always does, quietly makes it to these deep rounds while not being necessarily the guy that everyone's talking about around the gallery. Those comments are all either given to Sean Lenning or Paul Brady. But Emmett just finds a way to do it, Dave.
Well, you know, Dave, talking to a number of really highly respected handball minds and legends, including Fred Lewis, said, you know, yesterday was the best he'd ever seen Emmett Peixoto play. Just had a read on everything Sean was doing. And, you know, you talk to other guys, they say this is probably going to be Emmett's best chance to ever beat Paul. You know, Paul is coming off that leg injury from just 6 or 7 weeks ago. He hasn't been putting the ball down as flat as we're used to seeing him put the ball away. And, you know, with Emmett's speed and conditioning, this could be an opening for him. Of course, you know, Paul Brady's the type of athlete that will just keep elevating his game with each round of a big event, particularly his biggest event, which is this one. So you have to think you're going to see probably a different version of Paul Brady as we now welcome in Chris the Waddy Dog Watkins. Chris, you've watched Paul Brady for so many years. I'm sure you've seen this trend as well. Each round in the tournament, he seems to be better.
Well, he's certainly super fit. He knows how to train properly. He's in tune with his body, and so, you know, as we've seen these injuries, you know, creep in over time over the course of the season, you know, he's really been careful about how his preparation has gone. To talk a little bit about the ball and the ball differences, this ball does have a tendency to stay up, which could be to Emmett's advantage to get further into points, and maybe Paul puts a little pressure on himself to end rallies. Emmett played brilliantly yesterday. You
know, you talk about the preparation, but mentally, does Paul say I'm going to play at 50% in the first round, maybe 60% in the second round, do what I have to do in the semifinals, and then just sort of let it all hang out in the finals?
Well, historically, if you look at the scores of his matches, that wouldn't be the case. He seems to get in there, and as they call him, the gunner, he just guns away and gets out of there.
This is a repeat of last year's final where Emmett Peixoto played well in that first game, scoring 15 and then scoring only 2 in the second game. We later found out that Paul had a severe neck strain that required a hospital visit in the middle of the night just hours before the final, and came out and just played brilliantly. So nothing stops this guy. You know, and Emmett said, I thought that was one of the best matches I'd ever seen him play or he'd ever played against me.
He certainly is just so internally, mentally tough. And I'd say that Emmett is, you know, on the mental side of toughness, in his own right, in his own way, you know, Emmett certainly deserves to be here.
You know, a lot of people say, well, Emmett is the most consistent guy. He's always there. But you have to remember the second half of the Race for 8-3 season, he lost to Nadia Alvarado, 41-year-old Nadia Alvarado, who hadn't played a tour event in 6 months in New York. He loses to Armando Ortiz in the quarterfinals in Salt Lake City. He loses in the 5th place final in Salt Lake City. So he had some losses to guys that weren't in the top 3 or 4 at the time. But he rights the ship here. And, you know, he makes his way through this draw, particularly yesterday, a great win against Sean Lenning, who'd been kind of the guy that was supposed to challenge Paul Brady at this year's Nationals in a lot of people's minds.
Well, and that was the talk, too, in the galleries, was that Sean was playing so well, especially after that win over Shanks.
You guys ready? All right, let's get started.
Our referee is Dave Steinberg, and he will make the announcements here.
Tails. Thank you. If you have contact, call it immediately or the shot counts. If you have a bad bounce that I don't call it immediately or the shot will count. Linesing, I got Dan on the right and Nick on the left. Please wait for the score to be called before you serve, okay?
Wow.
All right, men's final. Serving, Emmett Peixoto. Receiving serve, Paul Brady.
Paul has to do another 4 or 5 warm-up shots there while Emmett's waiting for the ball.
Play
I don't know
ball,
if that's to
0-0.
intimidate Emmett or Paul's just not ready, but the galleries are packed.
Well, he had to wait another
Here's that
45
first serve.
seconds after that announcement of the rules. And
Point.
Emmett falls
Emmett
down
makes a
there.
nice
but
kill shot dead center.
Do you think Emmett's going to be
1-0.
comfortable with this kind of off-speed serve?
Wow.
Point.
Try to slow Paul down?
I think he's very
2-0.
comfortable playing this style. He's gone out of his way to play Paul as many times as he possibly could in the last couple of years, just for moments like this. Emmett flew to Tucson about 16 months ago because Paul was staying there for the week just so he'd have an opportunity to play an exhibition match against him, just to try and get experience, all leading towards this match.
Point.
And Paul off to a
And there's
terrible
another point
start
for
here.
Emmett Peixoto here.
Hence that mental toughness. You know, Emmett knows what he needs to do and
3-0.
wants to do to get in this position.
Coming in.
And if you're Emmett, you have to like Paul taking that shot. Falling back from 36 feet,
0-3.
hits the bottom board right in front of Emmett.
I call it a side out. You appealing a bad bounce? Bad bounce?
I think Paul's got an argument here.
Dave,
Appealing a bad bounce.
I didn't see it.
Okay,
I thought it
I
was
did not see a
great
bad bounce.
reverse.
It's-
Paul's appealing a bad bounce.
you'd have to think it's a little frustrating here because the referee has no clue what Paul's
Bad
trying to
bounce,
appeal.
yes.
I thought the ball
I
slid
got one
deep,
agree, one
but
disagree.
Paul's saying he hit
Side
the
out.
front wall hole.
Here it is right here.
Yeah, it definitely hit it.
Okay.
Coming in, 3-0.
There's a screen, no call.
This is just a dream start here for Emmett, who
Unfortunate
shockingly
miss.
misses that.
Yeah, but
Coming in.
he definitely has this pace a little
0-3.
slower than Paul would probably like.
And I
Point.
talked to a number of people about that Paul Brady serve that comes around the revolving door in
I
that
didn't
left
see
corner.
a bad bounce, Emmett.
Normally a setup for top level players, but for some reason each player has told me it comes out
I
at
will.
a different angle when Paul hits it, and it's not
Okay,
really in their strike zone. So for whatever reason, when Paul
1-3.
catches those revolving doors, hard for guys to put them away. Strange shot there from Paul.
This is our longest rally of the match so far. Wow.
point.
It's a long one.
That was a great rally, though, from both guys. You saw a lot of angled shots there. And Paul finished it off on the 31st shot with this shot. You don't see a lot of shots.
Yeah.
A lot of rallies end on 30-plus shot rallies with a flat rollout.
You know, Emmett had
I thought
a really
Emmett
nice
went a little-
hanging ball that he should have put down
Yeah.
early in that
And
rally.
then Chris, Emmett hits that ball really high, that
3-3.
roundhouse shot up high. He hit it a little too hard, and Paul let the ball drop and took care of that last rally.
Point.
And Chris, you talk about Emmett being able to change the speeds. I like that a lot, and he's also got some pop, almost, Dave, like a Greg Maddux, where
4-3.
he paints the corners at 84, then all of a sudden throws a fastball at 90, and it looks like 105.
Coming in.
See, he committed to
Yeah, I
that. The
think-
ball set up, he committed to putting the ball down, and he can make those shots.
3-4.
If he gets the hanging opportunities, he has got to put him down here, or Paul's going to make him pay.
Yeah, we call that the
Coming in.
OCR, Chris, the offensive conversion rate. Emmett's got to convert at 40% or
4-3.
better his offensive opportunities with very few errors. That's the only way you're going to beat Paul Brady.
Point.
Don't forget, Emmett was up 3-1, Dave, and he missed that right corner
Yeah.
kill. It would have given it 4-1, and now he sees a complete reversal with
5-3.
Paul Brady scoring the next 4 in a row.
Short.
Paul had Emmett fooled there, but David was actually 3-0.
serve.
And now 5 straight points for Paul.
Hold it. Slider.
Paul Brady just seems to kind of be
5-3.
revving his engine right now, Chris. You know, he's
Short.
Well, he's going to put Emmett in a position where Emmett's going to have to press. Emmett doesn't want to be in that position, so Emmett needs a quick
Second
side
serve.
out here and regroup and stick to his methodical play.
But in a nutshell, isn't that really Paul Brady's game? Forcing you to press while he just kind of stands around and tees off
Coming in.
and makes that amazing lateral movement when he has to.
3-5. Hold it.
Ball
Slider.
slid.
Yeah,
Emmett knew that
That's
slid with the
unfortunate.
fist pump. And you know, you talk about Emmett wanting to get into rallies, but I believe Paul Brady also wants to get into as many rallies as he can. He loves to rally because his superior movement
Replay.
is a huge advantage. You can't move Paul side to side and get setups because I believe that's the strength of his game, although really anything is, but
well, his legs are
3-5.
incredibly strong, and his ability to lunge, the plyometrics, all of the Gaelic football,
Ball.
with all that sprinting that he's done
Left
over
foot.
the years, has just made his glutes and quads so strong.
I don't know if you had a chance to watch the video that was made, I believe it was on Trans World, showing some of his workouts, the squats and the crab walks. Just
Second serve.
amazing. I don't know that anyone else out there is doing it. Maybe Emmett. And that did
Hold it.
slide.
That ball slid as well.
Again.
That's bad luck for Paul because that was a ball he was really going to tee off on with Emmett in
3-5.
front of him.
Oh, another bad one.
Slider
This game
again.
is really becoming very sloppy.
Yeah, well, not any fault of the players. It's just unfortunate here.
Well, you're going to see more
just
slides with
terrible.
these two because they
Go
tend
ahead,
to,
wipe them
top
down.
reverse the ball, which does not grab the wall as much as if it has a natural.
Well, I mean, we're just
we really
8
need-
points in, and I don't really know what we can do. I don't know that this helps because how can you see where the ball slid? You can't. I mean, it slides on a 2-inch spot, and That wall is 20, 40 feet long. You know, Paul Brady's one of these guys that can do damage when he's behind you and you're in front of him, because he can tee off and just hit the ball so hard that he doesn't have to take a chance of trying to shoot the ball in front of you. He can just drive the ball at you with hop and power, and you almost don't want Paul in that spot. Most players, you're trying to push them behind you, take over the center court, but with Paul, he's hitting these shots at you 100 miles per hour. I mean, Gene Casamoto could tell you your reaction time, but it's somewhere in that, you know, 1/10 of 0.05 milliseconds to react. Not much you can do.
Well,
Yeah, but the one guy that could do something about it is Emmett Peixoto. He defended Sean Lenning's drives right at him yesterday, and it made it seem like it was no big deal when everybody else
Right,
was scoring
resume
5
play.
and 6 points against Sean.
3-5.
But here, Emmett's doing the same thing, except for the walls are going against him and Paul.
Well, I think Paul plays the ball a lot better off the sidewall deep than Sean did yesterday. And a complete whiff
Coming
there
in.
from Emmett. That was almost like a pro golfer just whiffing the ball in the rough.
5-3.
Or so- I mean,
the hosel knock.
Well, second serve.
But how frustrating does it get to a pro player who, both of these guys prepared themselves so
Point.
well for this finals match, just to have the court prepare itself even worse?
well, I mean, this is not uncommon for this court, but it's also
6-3.
not all that uncommon for other sports. I mean, you look at U.S. Open golf tournaments and the greens get out of control, Chris, and you know this, and you can't keep a downhill
Coming
putt
in.
on the green, and it's not fair, but it's just the way the course is set up. We saw at the French Open last
3-6.
week on the clay. The clay gets so dry that it's so slippery that you can barely even get your footing. I mean, these are just sort of unfortunate things that happen, and it's happening
Second
obviously
serve.
now on this court.
So you saw there, Emmett, you know, took a revolving door and straightened it out down the wall,
Coming
and
in.
that's what you're going to need to do. Is to execute those shots. They know
6-3.
going into this match that they're going to have these experiences of slide balls that they're just going to have to deal with.
You know, we're just 9 points in here, but I'm already seeing a different Paul Brady than I saw all tournament.
It didn't look like much of a slider, Emmett. Okay, Emmett's appealing
Much?
a slide on the right side.
This was
wall.
about 4 shots
I did not
previously,
see one.
Dave. Is that an
The man
avoidable
But he said
there?
it didn't look
linesman
like
on
much.
The right is right there. He didn't see one.
Now, Chris, could that be considered an avoidable, making those gestures in the middle of a rally where
Don't-
obviously as an
Don't
opponent you
stop
see
play
that
in
peripherally?
anticipation of the injury.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if
Yeah,
there's
but Paul's
audible
been doing
there,
No, but even the visual, I mean, you're waving your arms around.
Don't.
yeah, it could be a
I
distraction.
understand.
Now, at
Don't
that
stop
point, it seems
playing
like
in
you have to stop the
anticipation of
play and
injury.
hope
We
that
can
the
play it
line
after.
judges agree with you.
Yeah, you have to take that gamble.
Because, I mean, you're putting your
7-3.
opponent here at a disadvantage. Now, right here, Emmett starts with this, and clearly Paul
Yeah.
sees that.
Coming
Yeah, but
in.
Paul earlier did the exact same thing. He stopped 2 plays in a row
No,
when
I'm-
it happened to him.
I'm
He
not
picked-
singling out
Yeah, but
Emmett by
Paul
any means.
actually grabbed
3-7.
Paul on a serve actually grabbed the ball on a bad slider.
Replay.
And,
then he
and
did
didn't
stop
get
the
a
point.
lecture from the referee.
But I'm saying if you actually don't stop the point and you're making those gestures, is that
3-7.
then an avoidable?
Well, I believe it is.
Okay.
But the referee's already set a catalyst of stopping play when players ask for it, because I think the ref also
Replay.
saw it himself. That one the ref didn't see, so therefore the rule comes into effect of don't stop play. It might be a double standard to
3-7.
some, but I guess it is what it
Good.
is.
Isn't everything? Is what it is, I mean?
Second serve.
No.
That was a slide on the serve there. Normally we can't see slides on video very well unless we're sitting courtside, but here I've seen it at least 10 times in this match alone.
And
Coming in.
I believe Paul is wearing out Emmett's legs already early in this game. He's passed up a couple kill shots in the front court and just moved Emmett back with those 2-wall passes, and takes a lot out of you. And I said this yesterday, if Paul gets Emmett on a string, Emmett will fade in the second game, maybe even in the first game, because it doesn't matter how fit you are, you've got to be able to dictate play. Oh, and there's nothing more tiring than running to the back wall, having to stop on a dime, swing as hard as you can, back to the front court, side to side. And that's what Paul's forcing Emmett to do here.
He had several opportunities again in that rally to end the rally, and he didn't. And so Emmett just is not quite sharp. He has to be on point. When he has opportunities to put the ball down, he's got to commit to it.
But Dave, how can Emmett be sharp when Paul's got him literally moving to every corner of the court in every rally?
But see that replay right there. There's his nice setup, cleared out for him, and he put it right back to Paul.
Emmett is the get artist that we've all been talking about, but Paul Brady, every single time Emmett makes a really good shot, Paul's digging it out
with ease. And
so it even makes it. Yeah, it's making it even more difficult for Emmett because Paul's not only dictating play, but then when Emmett starts to dictate, Paul comes back in and digs one of his shots out and takes control again. We talk about these other guys being get artists. Paul never gets his name brought up, but I think he's the best in the game.
I think he does.
You okay?
But Emmett has now worked his way into about a 4-minute timeout here with the floor and the shirt, and he was exhausted after that rally.
Gloves okay?
Whether he tells you that or not. You can't just run 3 100-yard sprints in a row and not be tired. It doesn't matter how fit you are. That's basically what Paul Brady's doing to Emmett right now.
It's too much noise. Are you?
The audience, people watching, people watching, the people.
Yes.
You ask them not to interfere with the linesman. No interference with the linesman.
Right.
We need a translator here, Chris.
Yeah, he's asking that I think just to have the linesman to pay attention to what's going on.
No, I understand, but our referee's not understanding.
Yeah, but who's the one talking right here?
Paul Brady.
Got it.
So just to go back to Paul and his seems to be in position to, as a get artist, is that just his skill of anticipation of where the ball is expected that it's going to come? Much like David Chapman, people talked about, how, what a get artist he was because he was always anticipating where the shot was going to be.
Well, Chapman had the ability to force you to hit a certain shot by where he put the ball on the court, so he knew where it was going, and he was just always there and had great hands. Paul Brady has the combination of the anticipation, forcing you to hit to a certain spot, and then unbelievable leg strength. So when you have that combination, I think he's even a better get artist than Dave, but Dave probably a better re-kill artist. But as far as making some of those gets that we see Paul make, I see him make a few gets in every tournament that I don't think are even possible.
I remember watching him a few years ago play Naughty Jr. here on these courts, and I was astonished at, he was in the server's box, he made a serve, Naughty made an excellent pass, kind of somewhat of a revolving door, but he literally took 2 lunges and was in position to not only get the ball but to shoot the ball. And that's just
well, if you can
phenomenal
hear me,
leg
David
strength.
Fink, this is going to be a long match with all the sliders happening. I hope it cools down. Resuming play.
What was that for, Dave?
7-3.
I'm not sure.
Well, I could only imagine.
What, just his speech there?
Well, he said if you can hear this, Dave Fink, he called you right directly out.
I didn't know that.
That I saw. Slider.
This is just unfortunate. I mean, that's really the only word. That's the best, nicest way I can say it.
This is just like
7-3.
hack a Jordan in the playoffs. I mean, it's fun to watch handball and all, but every other play is stopped. This might be 3 hours long.
Well, Paul's going to have to just go to more of a flat rollout style.
Hitter.
And there again is what I've seen from Paul throughout this event, not putting away setups.
7-3. Point.
And that's a tired shot. And once you're tired, your decision-making changes a little bit. I don't think Emmett goes for the kill there
8-3.
if he's not winded.
Point.
But you know, Chris,
I call
That
the
was
serve
short.
good. One agree.
It
one
was short by
disagree.
3 inches.
Point.
wow.
Oh, that's tough.
9-3.
And it was a fist pump, too, from Paul
Oh.
to close it out, but that was 3
Which he
inches short.
will always do in that
Short.
situation.
Look at it here, Dave.
Okay.
Actually, Chris has the better eyes.
That's short.
Oof,
Well
6
short.
inches.
Yeah.
Second
Oh my
serve.
gosh. That was 6 inches short.
And Emmett has to put that away.
Point.
And he knows it. I mean, he's in the front court there, Chris, and
Yeah.
just kind of mishits a shot into the right corner.
10-3.
I've actually found the only way to get points against Paul Brady is to make mishits. That way he doesn't know where it's going. Wow.
Point.
Wow.
But see, that shot right there is what it's going to take for Emmett. Is that straight in,
11-3.
really close to the wall. Even if he doesn't kill it, he's
You know, you
Point.
say, well, you got to get in great shape to play Paul Brady, but
Timeout,
Emmett's in
Emmett.
great shape. But
60
what you have to
seconds.
do is, yeah, be in great shape, but you have to figure out a way to dominate the center of the court, because if you don't, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter. You're out of gas within 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think Emmett needs to maybe change the mindset of the match a little bit. You know, where that conservative play, you know, and his fitness has got him to this point, but he's in a situation now, 12-3. He's got to really let his hands go and try to get some really crisp power on the ball and make some and execute some kill shots where he can start feeling good about what he's doing.
You know,
because this isn't working.
No.
He's got to change it up.
But, you know, I hear Dave and I talk about this a lot. You know,
30 seconds.
Dave will say you got to go to a lob serve, but if it's not your thing, if it's not what you do, it's very difficult to go in there and say, well, now I'm going to start playing like Sean Lenning or Luis Moreno if you're Emmett Peixoto. He's got a system that he plays, and right now it's not working. Dave, I mean, I know you're seeing the same thing.
You know, it's like laying up. I don't think it's the time right now to lay up. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, this is not the situation. He doesn't have the luxury of playing a little bit conservatively right now. He's got to take some chances.
Well, you know, Dave, I've seen Emmett have a lot of different styles throughout the years. I can see him changing a style if he at least had that part of his game plan. And we'll see if he will do something different here. He can ground and pound. We've seen it before.
Point. Appealing a slider. You
If-
had me screened, so I couldn't tell. Emmett is appealing a slider on the right side wall. I call the serve good, no slider. Okay, both disagree. It's a replay.
I thought it did slide,
It
right,
did,
Chris?
and both the linesmen
Two
disagreed.
serves.
Paul always thinks he might only get one serve after they have an appeal on a slide.
Pinner.
Screen.
Right now, Paul averaging during rallies 25 miles per hour faster than Emmett Peixoto.
Wow.
Hard to overcome that.
12-3.
Paul at 70 miles per hour on average. Emmett Peixoto,
Coming in.
45.
Even on that previous play, that hinder though, Emmett did turn up the
3-12.
volume a little bit there, and got the nice pass shot on the next shot.
Point.
And now you hear Mrs. Peixoto, Emmett's wife and biggest fan, trying to get behind her guy here.
4-12.
Are we going to see a serve to the right here soon?
This is a long rally here. Just don't want this to end on a slider.
Oh, that would be awful.
Oof.
Paul Brady made sure that there was no dispute there. 34
Yeah, no
foot.
balls touched.
12-4. Coming in.
Strange air. You've seen Emmett play Paul a number of times over the last 18 months, anywhere from blowouts to really close games.
Right there, too, Emmett, where you're standing.
The last time these guys played, Chris, as you know, was at Emmett's home club at the Olympic Club in San Francisco in the finals there. Emmett competitive, but never really threatening Paul in either of those games. It was Emmett who gave Paul a pretty good run in the second game in Houston this year.
Yeah, I reffed that match, and I was just blown away at the speed of both of the gentlemen that are on the court right now. I was really impressed. And Emmett in that first game, he pressed him all the way to the end. I think it was 15-13 maybe.
Yeah.
And Emmett was right there.
Need another one, please.
But
coming in.
But his legs were spent after that effort too, and I think
12.
Paul ended it, relatively easily at 15-5 or so.
So what does Emmett need to do, Chris, to replicate what he did in that game that he came so close to winning against Paul a few months back?
Well, from what I saw,
it looked like a normal bounce from up here.
His pace on the ball was tremendously faster than it is right now. He was hitting the ball hard. He was really pushing Paul and matching Paul around the court. Now, he wasn't able to do that for the entire match, but he did have some success with it.
What match are you talking about again, Chris?
The one in Houston.
The semifinals there, Dave.
4-12.
Well, it was a different ball.
Short.
A lot of the things that you're talking about are as a result of that heavier ball.
I mean, it could be, maybe Emmett does feel more capable to hit it harder with that ball.
Emmett's got to re-kill that.
I call it a point.
So Emmett's hanging around here, though. We've been at 12-4, 12-5 now for quite some time.
Slider?
I think Paul's saying he didn't have a backswing there.
Point, no slider. Paul's appealing a slider. Both agree.
Oh, Paul's appealing a slide.
Wow. And both agreed.
Yeah. I thought it was more of a safety hold.
5-12. Fault. Second serve.
What's Paul doing there on that run up front?
Well, he was looking to take that return of serve out of the air.
That was a slider.
Ugh.
Replay. 5-12.
That's a great,
nice shot.
Great play.
But he went for the shot.
Yeah.
He went to execute that shot and made it. We still haven't seen him try to test Paul's right on the serve.
Short.
Paul's had a little bit of a drop-off since he got to 12.
Second serve.
Maybe his legs are a little tired.
Wow.
Coming in.
What do you guys think about Emmett playing doubles in this event? He's already done 2 rounds. Yesterday, after making it to the finals of the men's singles, he's playing a quarterfinal match or a semifinal match in double.
You have to remember, Dave, that he's just played 1 doubles match thus far in this event. He won 21-2, 21-4, and basically just hung out on the right side while Charlie Shanks took care of everything. So I don't think that's a factor at all. He'll play his next doubles match, which will be his second one after this match. So at that point, it won't matter. So I don't see that having much of an impact or any.
Going both ways in the pros, the double singles is a younger pros game. Once you hit 30, 31 or so, it's probably time to really focus on your singles and try to get that title.
Emmett, 32 years old. He'll be 33 in October.
13-6. I'm going to call that an avoidable ball.
No.
He was right on top.
Where's
of
he
it.
supposed to go?
Coming in.
I see a hinder.
I mean, that's crazy.
No, that's
No. I mean, can we watch that
the worst
again?
part is
it was
Emmett-
it wasn't a
Emmett-
setup. It wasn't.
It was like Emmett was lobbying for that.
Maybe he's just thinking
got
because
it.
he was backing up into him. Maybe
Well, sometimes as a player, you may see things that aren't there, but
he
this.
comes back right there.
Paul, do you have a headband?
You're watching the 65th United States Handball Association's Four-Wall National Handball Championships, Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California,
13-6.
where Paul Brady and Emmett Peixoto just hit the 45-minute mark on this men's finals
Court's
first
becoming,
game.
Wet.
Just over halfway through.
well,
You hear the voice of Chris Watkins and Dave Fink in the booth.
there's a, I'd say about maybe 25% of all the shots have
Sliding.
a little bit, with maybe about 5% of them, 5% of the 20 being grotesque. Sucks.
I guess that's one way to put it. As we hear the audio from Dave Steinberg.
Hot in these courts.
Well, this is a thankless job for Mr. Steinberg.
Did you?
Very, very difficult. First of all, you're reffing two of the best players in the world who play at such a fast pace they can really get to everything. And then you've got these walls that are a huge factor. Hard enough to ref a match like this when there's no variables involved.
Like when we were in Minnesota last year.
It's also incredibly hot in the court. So there's going to be a lot of stoppages for glove changes and shirt changes and towel breaks, and those are really unavoidable.
Yeah, they're going to do the best they can. I mean, you got guys that are volunteering to get in there and wipe the courts down, open the doors, air it out, make sure that they're changing their gloves and shirts routinely. Creates a lot of stoppages in play, but it's in the best interest of the game. I mean, these gentlemen are going after a national championship here, and they deserve to have all of those efforts put in place so that they can play at the best of their abilities.
I mean, Chris, I would even opt to open up that side door there and put a fan to blow the air out of the facility, as opposed to having that one that's pointed into the court, which I think is actually bad because I think it's taking the air from the court, unless it's pointing toward the audience, which I don't think it is. I think it aims toward the court, which is taking that humid air and throwing it directly into the area that is wet.
Well, it's interesting that most of the slides come in deep in the corners, which is when the players are, in those corners with lots of moisture, lots of heavy breathing, and they kind of stay in there. If you notice, you won't really see too much of a slide ball 25 feet, 30 feet and in. It usually occurs deep in the corners.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they have a fan system that you can put in corners or up a little bit higher that will circulate the air. Multiple fans in a row will actually channel that air around and maybe out, and there's a possibility you could take care of that with some ingenuity.
Yeah, so if they were wiping the courts down, they really don't, the restraining line, the dotted line, you really don't need to go in front of that. You need to pay attention to everything behind it.
Second serve.
Blow the walls with fans behind that line. That's where you're going to get the slides.
I also like your idea of just taking hot air and blow, taking an actual blower and blowing it in there in between points.
They would, if they had, I mean, real simple. If they had a few electric blowers that during timeouts and stuff, they just cranked them on and just focused on the sides of those walls deep in the court, I think it would help.
I'll tell you this, though. If they spend half as much time working on this court as we spend talking about what could be done to this court, it would be the best court in the world. And this didn't just start at this tournament, Chris.
No,
this has been an ongoing discussion, working on 10 years now.
Yep.
6-14.
Have you seen an electric blower in there yet?
I don't even know what that is.
Find that in the Home and Garden store at Home Depot.
He still doesn't know what it is. The only reason why he knows where Home Depot is because it was next to the tanning bed salon.
Coming in.
So Emmett gets really good looks from short inside of the server's box to score a point to, you know, to close the deficit, and he didn't convert.
Slider.
The ball slid on the ground.
That was a well-hit shot from Emmett. He used his legs there, Chris, and he put a nice reverse on that.
14-6.
I saw it slide twice.
Point.
And this is what Paul does to you. He just hits these shots that you just can't return. Even though they might be 6 inches high, they're on the walls, they're running away from you, they straighten out.
Well, Emmett certainly had him slowed down there for the better part of 20 minutes, but we're still looking at the same result.
Point.
And that's another reason that Paul Brady is so good. He has every swing mastered. The sidearm swing, the Irish whip,
16-6.
the overhand, the underarm. I mean,
Ball.
you know, it's a golfer that can hit the fade, that can hit all 9 shots, Chris.
He has every shot.
Yeah.
And he has speed variation on every shot, too.
Slider down. Replay.
Slider down, Chris. Thought we were watching Top Gun for a second. Dave would have laughed at that, but he was working that day. Didn't get to see that great classic.
Point.
Actually, I grew up.
Change your shirt. Okay, you got 2 minutes.
There's a 2-minute break being called on the court here with Paul Brady up 17-6 in the all-slide finals of the men's division against Emmett Peixoto. And I know they're going to go in and start tallying off this court again during this timeout. I'm not quite sure, Chris, that towels work, but, you know,
no, because
I know
it's
they've
just
tried
wiping the
everything
moisture.
here.
You know, I believe these breaks hurt the players because, Chris, you know, when you're playing, you want to kind of get into a rhythm. You don't want to play 3 rallies and take a 2-minute break. It's hard to develop any kind of flow. You know, I mean, even if I understand there's times when you're tired, you need to take that 60 seconds, but you're not tired after 3 rallies generally. And this is basically what we're seeing is 3 or 4 rallies, 1 to 2 minute break.
Well, you know, in the singles court, they're probably going to stay warm enough, you know, through the play where it's not going to be that bad. I mean, this is more mentally challenging than physically challenging at this point. But if in the doubles court, if this starts to occur, your right side player is going to start to get cold.
Well, we can only imagine the sliding that will take place with 4 guys in the court when the rallies are 50 shots per rally. Unfortunately, I won't get to see any of that. I mean, I'll look forward to hearing about it.
Sorry, I was typing the resignation notice for you here on the typewriter. You guys keep talking.
Yeah, I'm just curious what's in Emmett's mind right now of how do you right this ship? How do you get some momentum against Paul Brady, who's, you know, closing in on history, and, you know, and there's no secret of how focused he is on that goal.
Well, you know, the problem is that no matter how resilient you are, Chris, Emmett has played Paul Brady 10, 15, maybe 20 times, and every time he's lost. Now, sometimes he's been closer than others, but generally it's right around 21-6 or 21-8. And how do you keep pumping yourself up? And it's one thing between matches you say, well, now I know what I need to do, but then you get in the court and the same thing happens again. What's going through your mind at that point?
Well, as a professional, I'd like to believe, especially with Emmett's approach to the game and preparation for the game, I'd like to believe that anytime Emmett steps on the court, he's searching for his best match. And if that's against Paul or anybody else, you know, he's going to try to do everything he can to rise to that occasion.
18.
No, I agree with you in terms of your mentality going into the court, but once it starts to go this way, it's hard to not think about,
again. Yeah.
You know, 10, 15 years of this. And Dave, I know you and I remember in 2006 when these guys played at the U.S. Open, it was 21-6, 21-5, and Emmett boldly stated, "I'll beat him next time we play." And there's been, you know, 15 or 20 next times. And Emmett's a great, amazing player. Don't get me wrong, Chris, by any means.
Well, that's why it frustrates me just a little bit for these guys, because they're putting all of their professionalism into preparing for this one match, and then it, you know, a lot of slides, and now everyone's broken out of rhythm, and Paul, of course, just keeps fighting through. I mean, that was 9 years ago that Emmett said that he was going to beat him next year.
Well, he just went 4 straight serves
Paul
to the right. And when you're doing that, you're really feeling your
Emmett's
serve.
appealing a slider on the serve in the right corner. I saw the ball good, no slider. Both
And there it is. That ends game number 1.
Guys.
And guys, that was 21-6. Emmett reached out to try to shake Paul's hand, and is as frustrated with that as he is with the slides in that game number 1. This is the USHA Four-Wall National Handball Championships. Let's take a quick 2-minute break and come back and assess and talk a little bit about what we witnessed there in game number 1. Chris Watkins in the booth alongside Dave Fink, and then the work with Chris Garrett and Linda Manning, very well appreciated here as WPH brings you more live, continuous coverage of the 65th USHA Four-Wall National Handball Championships. Be back in 2 minutes. Stick with us.
Get a remarkable clean with non-toxic and biodegradable Simple Green all-purpose cleaner. Spray straight from the bottle on heavy grime or dilute the concentrated formula to make up to 11 bottles of daily cleaner. Safe for all washable surfaces, Simple Green can be used indoors and out, from kitchens and bathrooms to living and play areas, countertops and floors to furniture and clothing. Keep your home and our world clean with Simple Green.
My life is full of statistics. Thing is, I could have dropped out of school and become one myself, but I didn't, because I had people that believed in me. Here's another statistic. 7,000 students drop out every school day. That's 1 every 26 seconds. It's time that students know that we believe in them.
Inspire a student and share your message of support at boostup.org.
Back here at the Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California. It's the 65th USHA Four-Wall National Handball Championships. My name is Dave Vincent. We have Chris Watkins and David Fink in the booth as we throw it to them here for the men's finals game number 2. Paul Brady wins first one 21-6 against Emmett Peixoto. And we will, of course, be going to them here shortly. Want to experience an official app of the United States Handball Association? Well, they have one if you have an iPad or an iPhone. The free USHA Handball app is available and can be downloaded from the App Store. The USHA Handball app will help you find a place to play, take your tournament to the show court, so to speak, with live scores, deliver the latest handball news, and so much more. Flip through the mobile-friendly rule book to brush up on your handball knowledge while you're away from the court. Stay connected to buy gear and view Handball Hall of Fame images in their galleries alongside the top 20 handball picks of the month. The iPhone, the iPad, the App Store, it has this brand new USHA official app, and you can check it out. Download it right now, in fact, just like I did. We have Dave Fink and Chris Watkins locally as we get ready for game number 2. Still toweling down the courts, and it's odd to see just one person in there doing this. It seems like you might want to get about 20 or 30 due to the fact that this is a final match and the marquee match that you've been promoting throughout the weekend. And the floors being wiped up is a good thing, but the sidewalls are equally as bad. I don't know if you guys have been on the show court recently, but was it wet earlier on in the tournament? I'm getting a thumbs up from Dave. So it looked like it was pretty much wet early on in this handball championship as the USHA Four-Wall Nationals continues here at the Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California. You know, we talked earlier about that, the app that is brand new that's in the App Store, but they also have the new USHA rule book that is available. A lot of people don't realize this, that they've printed a whole new batch, and they're available by getting a hold of the USHA, and a big congratulations out to the President's Club. USHA members can contact the USHA at 520-795-0434 to get the copy of that brand new handball rule book. But I brought up the President's Club because they were the ones behind getting a new version printed out. It was their thought and their finances that helped do that. If you'd like to become part of the President's Club, you can do so by contacting the USHA, and you can get your voice heard. It's a $1,000 annual membership into the President's Club, and you get to join alongside the living legends like Carl Porter, Joe McDonald, Bob Hickman, and Mike Steele, and be part of this group making change for handball.
Properly worn.
As the referee now tells Emmett Peixoto to properly wear his eye guards while he's in the court.
Yeah. Emmett Peixoto had the shortest amount of time between shirt changes I've ever seen, Dave. 4 rallies in that first game and needed a new shirt.
Okay, quiet, please.
50 minutes that first game took, Dave, and I would say just about 25 of them were actual on-court time.
Replay.
Emmett got off to a nice start in game 1, Dave, leading 3-0 quickly.
0-0.
And it looked like
Short.
maybe it could be his day, but Paul Brady outscoring Emmett 21-3 to end that first game.
Second serve.
Emmett really close there on that back wall shot from Brady.
That's a good shot from Emmett.
Coming in.
Very nice fly kill here from Emmett. Sets it up, pushes Paul into the deep corner here. That's a shot Emmett struggled with for a lot of years up until about a year ago. Finally started to make that shot consistently. And that's been a big finishing shot for him to end rallies.
Handball.
Frustrating there for Emmett, is should have put that away, but you know, Paul has such great speed
Replay.
that he's there.
Hinder. 0-0. Fault. Second serve. Hold it. Replay 0-0.
Chris, I see these top players, Emmett Peixoto, Armando Ortiz. There's something about Paul Brady's ball that just forces them to be just slightly off balance when they're going for their shots. I think it's just a little bit more power and a little bit of wrinkle on the ball, and you see a lot of these guys reaching. You're just not going to hit good shots when you're reaching, and Paul Brady with a terrible air there.
Well, I think his technique is so sound that you know, he's really using his legs and his glutes. You know, he's that core squeeze at impact is probably generating more power.
And you have to train yourself to be able to engage your core while you're making your swing. Not easy. But Paul Brady really is a scientist. I mean, he understands what to do with his body while he's hitting the ball.
And don't forget his age. He's able to understand how to change a little bit as he gets older.
Point.
You just look at that elbow high, shoulder high, you know, cocked and ready. You know, really sound technique, and then snaps through that ball.
1-0.
That's his offhand.
Look at that serve.
2-0.
There were a couple of years during this 9-year championship run for Paul Brady where he didn't allow double figures in any game throughout the entire tournament. Now, he did allow Armando Ortiz to score 11 yesterday, so won't be able to duplicate that feat this year, but it's much the same. We saw this in 2009 at this club, and that
Unavoidable hit. Avoidable, Emmett.
I do agree with that call, but you know, this is not much different. We saw Paul Brady defeat Luis Moreno in the
Coming in.
semifinals here in 2009 in 7-7, and then defeat Dave Chapman 6-3 in the final.
You were right in front of the shot, like not a foot away. You had to move
Yeah,
off to
Emmett
the
just
side.
kind of didn't even commit to moving.
You were not far
This was kind of a
enough away.
one-wall
You
move
did
from
not have
Emmett.
a clear shot at the front wall. Coming in.
He just got a little lazy
because
with
a player-
clearing out.
Yeah. Just because a player tries to get out of the way doesn't mean that your avoidable goes away, Chris.
No,
You
I
could try
thought that
to-
was the right call.
Point.
Emmett looks a little deflated right now and also
3-0.
a little weary in the legs.
I'm sure it wasn't the doubles that did it, though.
Well, when you win 21-2, 21-4, and your partner plays the entire match, and all you do is serve.
I guess you didn't watch it then.
Coming in.
I did.
0-3.
Paul seems to be content to just push him around.
Point.
Shows you how much confidence Paul has in his game that he can pass up kill shot opportunities to go for pass shots.
He's just, it's early, and he feels like he probably can just suck some more
1-3.
legs out of Emmett.
Point.
You know, he missed that shot there, Dave, Vincent, but if you look at it, I know you played a lot of baseball and have been around, and I know you're mostly a pitcher, but the hitting, I equate his high shoulder and elbow up, you know, almost like a batter. You know, just technically seems perfect.
His timing is just unbelievable. He loads up just absolutely perfect, and though he hit that ball on the ground, that was, his technique was not at fault. I mean, Paul Brady generates leverage, and a lot of players like Mondo Ortiz, you say, you know, where is he getting the leverage from? You know, he throws his body into the serve, yes, but where is all that other leverage? Or even a Naughty Jr. might be a better example. Paul, you kind of know where it's coming from.
Second serve.
He's got those huge legs, he sets up absolutely perfect to hit the ball too.
Coming in.
And those aren't kills, but they're 8-10 inches high, a hard hook, and they're coming 85 miles an hour.
Ball. Second serve.
And very quietly here, Emmett is now tied at 3
Coming in.
with the side out.
Excellent down the wall.
3-3.
And Emmett really finding those corners now. A couple of beautiful right-handed right corner kills. Took a little bit off of those shots, kept them down.
Hold it.
That's not a bad play, even though that was a slide.
Back.
Overhand tomahawk to keep it down the left. Put some pressure on Paul.
Nothing worse than making a very good executed shot and then to have it negated by a slide.
Play it again. 4-3. Point.
5 points in a row now for Emmett after Paul had
5-3.
scored 24 of 27 points from the end of the first game until the beginning of the second game.
Wow.
Bottom board from Emmett there.
Timeout, Paul. 60 seconds.
Maybe Emmett's found something here.
I think so.
Well, it looks like Paul has sort of just let up just a little bit.
Well, sometimes that lob serve will take a little bit out of you. It takes a little bit of your momentum away when you're used to playing the fast pace, and now Emmett's able to slow the ball down and actually first strike on the lob serve return.
And it may take Paul, a couple of rallies to kind of regroup and say, okay, he's going with this slow game. I've got to stay patient and maybe work the ball down low a little later in the rally than I'd like to.
Emmett had a lot of success with the reverse power serve, off-speed power serve to the left yesterday, and he tried to go with it today, but really didn't get much out of it. And I think now he's adjusting and going to this overhand lob from the middle of the court.
Quiet, please.
I like the overhand lob because Paul can't take that out of the air like he was the underhand lob.
Hold it, hold it.
Unofficially,
But
24
didn't
slide
play?
calls in that first game.
6-3.
Already 3 here in the second game.
Coming in.
Emmett should have put away the back wall setup and then an air.
And if you saw Paul, even on that back wall setup, he cheated over to the left. Emmett has not taken anything from the right side and brought it back down the right side.
Point.
Dave, I know that you watched these two play an exhibition about 16 months ago, and it wasn't a national final, but Emmett was very competitive with Paul. What was he doing so well in that match that maybe he's not doing here today?
Well, what he does with everybody, and that is that Emmett keeps the rally going, and Paul was really not in shape at all, especially at that altitude in Tucson, nearing 3,000 feet above sea level. So he was pushing Paul back, and he was getting these 20, 30 shot rallies, and it was just something that I felt that really kind of kept Paul out of his game because Paul couldn't put the ball away. Emmett kept on, getting it. It seemed like Emmett was in just better shape all around, which I think was true at the time. So that opened up the door for Emmett, who just seemed to execute that day. Paul went on to win anyway, but it's easier said than done against Paul Brady to say that you're going to push him around the court and to dictate the flow of the game and go to the roof and be methodical, because Paul finds openings where other people don't.
And you're saying that was an exhibition match?
Yeah, that was in Tucson, a Friday Night Fights match in March of 2014. Paul had come
5-6.
after the New York event between New York and Denver to do a little bit of training and relaxing.
Point.
So I would argue maybe that, the mindset of Paul in that situation isn't going to show everything.
Well, I agree, but he'll show enough to win.
6-6.
But I saw Paul play a pro just in November of this year after winning the U.S. Open in a practice match. Showed up with headphones on, a huge bag, and a full warm-up. And he did not want to lose.
Yeah.
See how fast he got back on that ball?
And at this stage of his career, I don't think he wants to give anybody any sort of door opening.
6-6.
Yeah.
Slider, hold it.
Remember, it was Emmett had scored
Gross
6
slider.
consecutive points, had a good look at that 7th point, and now Paul Brady scoring 3 consecutive points to tie this game. Emmett finished game number 1 with just 6 points, already has 6 points here,
6-6.
12 points into this second game.
Short.
It's going to appeal that.
I call the serve short. One agree, one disagree. Second serve. Slider.
See, his ball's going to slide there because he's coming over the
Yeah.
top of it, reversing that. Which,
Hey.
by the way, I mean, to be able to take a ball out of the air and get it in your hand and create a reverse during a rally is just exceptional skill.
Yeah, I almost think it's his best shot.
I mean, look at that, just come over the top like
Is that a slide on the floor or the wall?
That was a slide on the wall.
Okay.
But even on a dry court, that reverse is not gonna grab the wall as much as you'd expect.
Well, I thought when he hit that skinny V that it would do exactly what it did, which was shoot towards the back wall as opposed to checking up, just because of the angle and the spin that he hit that ball.
I think Chris is right here on that, going over the top of the ball. But I think the problem is this court has already got everybody programmed to think that anything that you see slightly
Right.
is going to have the referee throw the red card on the play.
Right.
And that's another problem with this court, is it's got the reputation now that when real natural things are happening, you're going to stop play, which isn't completely fair, but that's just the way it is. It is what it is.
I agree with you, Dave, and certainly is having an influence, and it affects the players also who are now looking for slides every time the ball touches the side wall. And also it makes it difficult as a player when you see the ball coming towards the side wall and maybe it's a setup and you're worried that it's going to slide or not slide, so it affects your footwork and your confidence.
That it certainly does.
Yeah, you kind of lock your knees and you just say, well, I'm going to shovel this return because I don't know what it's going to do. And then when it doesn't slide, your knees are locked.
6-6.
And now you're shoveling a ball that you shouldn't be shoveling.
Wasted opportunity there
Yeah.
for Emmett, and then a bad air.
Good look to end the rally.
7-6.
I don't know how Paul got that ball. And then there's contact, their legs locked. Paul's going to end up winning the rally.
If you had contact, you're supposed to call it.
He
They
did.
both put their arms up. You'll watch
Okay,
Paul. It's
Evan.
Paul's shot,
I said, call your contact.
so he did call it. He's right there,
And Paul
hands.
also
I said,
Yeah.
call. Okay, Emmett's asking for a contact.
This is not an appealable call, Chris. This is the ref's call. cannot appeal this. And
Well,
know
I
that
think
our referee knows that.
You know, I guess the ref has the ultimate say here, but looks like Emmett and Paul are going to have a conference, and then
I think this call should. I think
Okay.
we should allow sideline judges
When I said at the
to
beginning
chime
of the
in. I mean,
match
why
to
not?
Call your
I agree with you,
contact,
Dave, but that's not the rule that's in place right now. But I agree in the future it should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, but right now it's just going to be a lot of bantering between these two, and we're going to go over the same point
And
until
now
the referee.
Paul's
Paul's
giving
going
it to him.
to give it to him.
Well, there was contact, and they both
Thank
stopped.
you very much, guys. Okay,
Right there.
Play 7-6.
And I'm not sure how Dave Steinberg missed that.
Well, Paul Brady's just going to use that as fuel. I think he's going to say, I'm going to give you
He's
that
gonna
one
notch it
point
up.
to take 6 in a row right now. I have that feeling. Put a little bit extra into that last shot.
8-6.
How thick is that circle you put on your scorecard, Dave?
Well, the pen is now leaking red.
Well, here comes number 1.
That was actually number 2. Point taken off the board made it 7-6, now 9-6. Emmett's feeling it. Emmett made a couple of the best gets he's made in this entire match during that rally. Still lost it.
You know, but what's so impressive is Paul's back at 38, 39 feet, hitting a sidewall, front wall,
Yeah.
and completely stretching Emmett out to the limit to get to the ball to end the rally with, you know, a 70% shot down the wall.
You know, most players, even top players, you hit the sidewall, front wall from 39 feet and the ball just hangs. But Paul's got so much power that he can hit the sidewall, front wall, and push you to the side wall with that shot.
You look at how deep he is here. Look at this. Boom, boom. Completely stretches him out.
And now another prolonged break here. I think Emmett was on the ground
there'll be a
twice there
shirt
in that
change.
rally.
Zoom and play.
There'll be a shirt
9-6.
change here shortly. Wow.
Coming in.
Good constructed point by Emmett, but again, it took him 4 setups to end the rally.
6-9.
You know, Emmett got the return he wanted. It was a ceiling shot that just barely came off the back wall. And if Emmett is going to be able to push Paul Brady, that's the kind of shot he has to be able to roll out, win points.
Point.
Because Paul's going to win points like that with 1 shot or 2 shots. Half his points are going to come on those kind of points. So Emmett's got to be able to also win some of those 1-2 shot
Slider.
rallies.
It's so nice to be able to just
Replay.
feel like you can get the ace, like you can
10-6.
get the cripple and make the quick kill.
Slider again. That one slid big time.
That one actually didn't slide. Chris, Emmett is aiming to become just the 6th different winner of this event since 1991. 24 years, we've only had 5 different
10-6.
champions.
That's an interesting stat.
Coming in.
If it's true, it's interesting.
2 of them live within about a mile of you.
6-10.
Actually, just 1.
And it's been a lot of fun playing with those guys.
Coming in.
You can tweet me at DFWPH
10-6.
if you know those 5 players, and the first
Short.
winning answer will receive nothing, courtesy of me.
Second serve.
I think I could name him.
How I'm not surprised.
Point.
Paul's rolling right now, guys.
He looks like he's going to stretch this lead.
11-6.
This is very much what he did in game number 1. He led 12-4 and won 21-6.
Point.
I saw Paul using that stiff arm left-handed re-kill
Timeout,
more last season when he wasn't quite as fit,
60 seconds.
but this season not as much, but he used it there to perfection.
You know, that's interesting you say that, because he did use that paddle shot quite a bit, but he's got his legs underneath him, and he's elbow in, snapping everything now.
It's thankless up here.
Now I know that our referee is keeping close track of the timeouts, but it seems like Emmett has unlimited timeouts. Like this is an NBA game with 2 minutes left, and you can just stop the game after every possession. It just feels that way. I know that Emmett only has 3. But I suppose between glove changes and shirt changes and towel timeouts and actual timeouts, they are pretty much unlimited.
He's trying to summon
Emmett
some
looking like he's, yeah, it's in time.
I think I would agree with
little
that.
support there from his.
Variance. 15 seconds.
That's Jessica Peixoto there, Emmett's wife. Just coming over to talk. She's not talking strategy. She's just trying to break Emmett out of that funk. Chris, does that help you as a player to have your wife, who I believe her name is Trish, right?
Yes.
Does she come over and just say, hey, you know, I mean, what is there something advice? Do you need anything? Just the contact. What does she say anything during your matches, during timeouts?
You know, she's watched limited handball, but it's always nice to have people in your corner and hey, you can do this. You know, we're proud of you. You're working hard. You know, that always helps. You in any sport, in any situation, you need that support network. And you know, I've certainly leaned on Nadi Senior, Nadi Junior, and vice versa. And it's just great to have that kind of support.
Coming in. 12-6. Point.
You know, I've also noticed with John Bike and Nadi Senior, any advice, it's so simplistic. It's not anything that's confusing. It's not complicated. It's just very little things.
I think he makes it look simple, but if it were simple, we'd all be doing it. But you're right, it's so simple that I think it's complex, because I think we've all gone in there and tried to hit the exact type of shot that he hits, but our feet just don't want to communicate correctly with our bodies.
Okay, shirt change. How's your gloves, Emmett?
Emmett took a lap around the court there, Chris, for 25 seconds, and now a shirt change. So this will be close to a 3-minute break.
You're good.
Yeah, and Dave Steinberg, you know, he's reffed a whole lot of high-profile matches and keeps things on point, but he's probably succumbed to these wet floors as well.
Yeah, Emmett Peixoto walking around the court, coming back, asking for that timeout, that's shirt change, gets it. And this is also part of the whole mix with that court that is sliding, you look at the player and say, well, if he's wet, we already have slide. The walls are sliding. They're more apt to give them the timeout there.
Well, especially to keep the shirts dry and you know, because you can play with a wet shirt. A lot of times I don't even want to change my shirt because my gloves feel good. I don't want to change.
Right.
Everything's feeling right.
1 minute.
Ideally,
This is
probably
the
you like
men's
to
finals of the. Dave, go ahead.
Ideally, you like to start a new game with a new shirt and new gloves, but not necessarily change in the middle of a game.
Yeah, especially if you've got the lead and everything's going your way. You know, I guess that's the superstitious part of sport, is that if it's working, don't change.
Well, it's not working for Emmett right now, so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for him to change and get out there. And I see him jarring with the fans just a little bit in the front row like he normally does to keep himself loose. Maybe that will help him break out of this little funk that he's in right now, because it does look like he's out of gas. Paul just pacing the front court there, just waiting for this.
Yeah, Paul's staying relaxed and patient, and you know, I think Paul has resigned the fact that he's not going to get this pace like he's used to, and so he's going to say, okay, well, mentally I've got to just stay focused on what I'm here to do, and it's going to take me a little bit longer to do it.
All right, let's go.
Well, you heard Paul in the post-match interview in San Francisco say, I just am prepared for everything. I'm prepared for every tactic and every condition that could possibly arise.
Great serve. Look at that. He just breaks off a reverse. And
that's like waiting on the tee box for 20 minutes on a par 5 and busting one 350.
Pipe one down the middle. He almost got the ace again.
So
wow.
After a 3-minute break, Paul takes 3 swings and wins 2 points.
Did you hear a little different pitch in that ball he hit to the front wall there?
16-6.
I heard it.
Paul's getting one for the other thumb here pretty soon at this rate.
Yeah.
Coming in. 6-16.
The crowd starting to give a little bit more support here toward Emmett. Wow,
Point.
Paul diving
No, I think
up
Paul
front
is
there. Very rarely do we see a dive from Paul. Very rarely.
Yeah, I think he's ready to end this. Let's see if Emmett can keep him around a little bit longer.
This is game number 2. Paul Brady wins the very first one, 21-6, which lasted about 36 minutes, and it felt like an hour and 36 minutes. We're now unofficially at the 1 hour and 20-minute mark here.
So
for
perhaps
this
the
match.
solution is we play on cement with electric blowers in both corners of the back wall.
Point.
We still haven't seen Emmett challenge Paul's right on a serve.
Wow.
Just comes over the top of that. That is just, there's not many people that can hit a stroke like that.
You know, I don't think I've seen a shot like that since Toddy Silvera.
This match is completed, so like they don't think we're expecting it to happen now. Please hold your seats for the presentation.
You heard that announcement from Vern Roberts into the earpiece of Dave Steinberg.
17-7.
Yeah, Emmett does have an
Sorry,
8th point,
16-8.
and the referee called that wrong. He just corrected it. Ah,
Point.
Just when it
and
seemed
Paul
like
gets those lucky ones too.
just when it seemed like Emmett had something going there, a couple of points in a row.
17-8. Point. Everybody, please hold your seat until after the match for the presentation. Thank you.
Emmett definitely does not want to hear that.
No. But that last sequence, that point there, that was a real tired-looking shot selection.
Yeah.
Paul Brady just 3 points away from getting his 10th national championship trophy.
Point.
Let's go, Emmett.
Make that 2 points.
Finish strong.
19-8. Short. Second serve. Coming in.
And assuming that he closes this out for the 10th,
8-19.
he only has 1 year of disruption in that run.
That's right.
Yeah.
Missed 1 year with an injury.
It'll be his personal 10th in a row, 10 for 10.
19-8. Point.
Here it is, Paul pumping himself up. He wants this moment. He wants this shot.
Can we get the mop in, please? Can we get somebody
This
to
is
take care of
everything
the
he's
floor?
worked for. You know, all that time in the gym and in the runs and, you know, the sprints. And I wondered, you know, just the Gaelic football that he's played over the years. I know that that's, you know, a little rough on the body, but boy, that is really, you know, the conditioning that is required to play at that level certainly is transferred over to the indoor court.
Well, Paul said before that the conditioning from training out there in 30 or 35 degrees of freezing rain for hours at a time makes this feel pretty easy in comparison. He's in a 72-degree air-conditioned court. And, you know, in Ireland,
Yeah, but it's just as wet.
Yeah. In Ireland, he's, you know, practicing in courts that might also be 45 or 50 degrees.
This is strange that this is happening on the 20th point.
I agree with you. And we've seen this, Dave, throughout this tournament, players trailing 20-3 or 20-5 and calling timeouts. You know, the player losing at that point. To me, it just, the writing is pretty much on the wall. You know, I mean,
Like Paul told you earlier, he's prepared for everything.
yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on right now.
Emmett last year
I mean,
scoring.
I can see that we're clearing the courts out here, but we're at 20-8. Paul Brady's walking in the front court here, just pumping himself up for the moment.
I agree with you, Dave.
Which is
Let's see what kind of pace is on this serve here. You think he goes all out?
No, I think it'll be an underhand lob, Chris.
Look
how anxious Paul is to get this serve underway.
Okay, resuming play. Wait.
Lord.
Okay, 28. Replay.
I've experienced that floor get that moisture, and if that is what's going on here, the ladder matches and the doubles, it's going to be really, really dangerous.
Yeah.
I'll let you text me the scores on those. No, this, you know, you saw during the break, Emmett was sitting in the front row, and he's just dripping with sweat. And he goes and stands in that spot, and he's still dripping in the same spot. That's why it's wet where he's at. And here it is. This is for number 10. And he got it. Paul Brady wins number 10 here in Los Cab for the United States Handball Association's Global National Handball Championships. That's 10 in a row for Paul Brady. Only missing that 1 year with a broken finger. Paul Brady has won 10 out of his personal 10 tries with the USHA and is now 1 away from El Gato's 11, just surpassing Dave Chapman's 9. Chris, Dave, Paul Brady, legend, greatest ever?
Legend, no doubt.
You know, and just to make it fair, guys, the crowd gave Paul a huge round of applause there as he came out of the courts. It's not all local. They do like California, but, you know, they do appreciate good top-level handball as well, and Paul has become a fan favorite everywhere he goes.
How can you not respect that, you know, the work ethic, the drive, the execution? And he's a gentleman. He's in there. He works a ref if he feels he needs to, but it's very quick and to the point, and he's back to business.
Let's see if we can get this announcement from the executive director, Vern Roberts of the USHA. We're going to get a microphone and give it to Vern, and we'll throw it to him for the presentation and let him close this one out.
Nadia Alvarado, hot on his heels. Paul Brady, his 10th national championship today.
No, just what Emmett, I want to thank the USHA, the WPH for the live streaming, and I suppose I better thank my girlfriend at home, Shauna, since he did as well, put the pressure on. I want to thank all the people who support me back home, the New York Athletic Club as well, and I'll be home soon. Bye.
On behalf of the USHA, I want to thank not just the ladies for letting the guys play, but also the sports from the Olympic Club and the New York Athletic Club, the WPH for showing this match live today on webcast. And Emmett, good luck in the doubles. Hope you get home with one. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your support. Keith, you want to do it right here? You want to do it right here or inside? And
that's Vern Roberts with that presentation.
That's
there,
how we pay the
giving
prize
Paul
money.
Brady
So thank
his
you very much for the seat sales. Very much appreciated.
recognition for the 10th national title.
Thank you, everybody.
As we have the men's doubles coming up right around the corner, as well as women's semifinals following that. You may just very well see Paul Brady and this presentation as the broadcast booth signs off, but we could watch a little bit more of this before taking a break and getting ready for that double semifinals. Dave Fink and Chris Watkins, thank you very much for your coverage here at Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California, as Paul Brady wins and defeats Emmett Peixoto 21-6, 21-8, and wins his 10th title. We'll have more coverage here from the United States Handball Association's Four-Wall National Handball Championships, Los Caballeros Sports Village in Fountain Valley, California. We'll be back in just a bit. Stick with us.